When people started talking about the '99 championship, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
It's been a long time. 20 years ago. Pretty amazing. All of us are getting a little older, which is maybe not so cool. But just I can't believe it's been 20 years. That kind of crossed my mind, and the fact that we were the first to do it, and we kicked the door in finally after years of disappointment and letting our fans down, letting ourselves down. We were able to find a way to get it done.
Obviously, that's the Memorial Day miracle was a shot that everybody talks about. But was there something else that happened that maybe brings as much emotion, as much memory back to that time?
I think a couple things. The first series, the initial series against Minnesota, we lost game 2 at home, and I remember leaving the arena and you could sense the disappointment in the stands. The people were disappointed once again. We'd let them down once again. And you remember at that point, it was the best of 5. And so it was 1-1, and we're going to Minnesota for their 2. They had Kevin Garnett and a bunch of good support players. And, I think people were thinking, well, here we go again. But we went there and we won both of them. And we won them going away. And at that point, we told ourselves, hey, when our backs are against the wall, we can find a way to get it done. And I would say the other part of it was, Avery's shot and just, closing down that final defensive stand. Those were 2 moments that I won't forget.
Bigger shot, Avery's shot or your shot?
Oh, yeah, you can't ask me that question.
Avery's not here.
I texted, or Avery texted me this morning actually about the 20th anniversary, and I said, well, hey, you made the shot. We couldn't have done it without you. And so that was pretty big. I mean, I'm never going to discount my shot against Portland, but Avery's, it was absolutely huge. And it was fitting because, here's a guy who everybody said, the experts said couldn't shoot, and here he was making the game winner in the finals. So that's pretty big.
That's big. That's a good debate, though, to have. Whose shot was bigger, his or yours? I mean, yours.
Well, I think, the thing with mine is that it was, again, the years of disappointment. And here we were down 18 in the fourth, and we found a way to come back, and we weren't winning games. We hadn't won games like that in the playoffs before. We had found a way to lose them. And that day we found a way to win the game. And I think that's why that shot stands out.
And then his obviously sealed it.
Yeah, and his sealed it. His sealed the deal. It was the nail in the coffin.
Do you remember the celebration? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, we were barking like dogs out there. We invented our own language. I mean, we really did. Guys were hugging and half crying and laughing. Just joyful, just overwhelming joy, and just it's a culmination of years of hard work for a lot of guys. A lot of dreams were on the floor that night, and just a lot of emotions came out from everybody. It was amazing. It's always better to do something as a unit, as a team, than to do it individually. And for all of us to come together and win that way was really exciting.
When you come home, you see. I'm sure you saw some video of the people that were celebrating on downtown. And what was your reaction when you saw?
I just, I wish we could have done it at home. That's the biggest thing. It would have been fun to celebrate on our own floor and celebrate with the people in town when it was going on. That's the only thing that, if you want to call it a regret, I wish that we could have won it in San Antonio. That would have been something else. But it was great to see. It was great to see the city come together. But we had seen the city come together, leading up to the finals. In the Western Conference Finals, people had flags on their car. There were flags flying all over town. It was like something we had never seen before here.
And then, of course, the River Parade. I mean, obviously, that's like no other championship parade can be because we have the river.
No, it was absolutely amazing. I don't know how long it took. It was hours on that float, but it seemed like 20 minutes. It was great to see all the people and see all the fans, and just again to see all the enjoyment that we were able to bring to the city and to bring people together. That's a great feeling.
Did you ever hear from any other players, maybe, or friends that got to see that parade and go, wow, that was, was there any other reaction from anybody else around the league?
No, yeah, I didn't hear from any other players or anything like that. They're probably A, jealous, or B, they didn't see it because things aren't, it wasn't like the internet is, like it is nowadays, and everything's so easy access. If it came on, it was probably a little blurred because we were little old San Antonio. We weren't the Lakers or the Knicks with a ticker tape thing, down Wall Street, and most of the players probably missed it.
There was an interview that you did, and I think in the interview you said something to the effect that you weren't recording any of this, that you were going to get it from like Tim and Steve Kerr and some of the other players. Did you ever get a video?
No, I mean, I can get a video anytime I want if I wanted to, and most of it's up here, Searsy. So most of it's up here, and I can recall a lot of it, and it's something about just being in the moment too, just enjoying it with your own eyes and just just soaking it all in.
Do you ever just sit and close your eyes and think about it and feel it?
No, not really. Not anymore. I don't. Not anymore. I mean, there are times that I think about it, and I look back at that time, and I'm proud about it. But I don't. The thing is, I don't really dwell on it, as much. I'm proud of our accomplishment. I thought we did something that obviously that had never been done before, but I try not to dwell on it too much.
Craig Kilborn invited you to his show.
Yeah.
And he asked you 5 questions. You remember what they were?
I can't remember.
Give me.
What was the biggest border between the United States and Mexico? Texas. I think that was it. Yeah.
Well, do you remember that all the attention you guys were getting, and like you show up on this show, and I think David and Tim even ended up.
Somebody did the Late Show, or somebody did Letterman. I don't know. And that's what's supposed to happen. We all went to the White House.
Yeah.
That was great, and I mean, that's what champions do. And all of us had worked so hard for that, and really not for that attention, but to win. And then all the accolades and all the good stuff came with it. So why not enjoy it?
We watched you hit the Memorial Day Miracle. We see the celebration, River Walk, and back of the Dome. And I think a lot of people forget at that time you were in some serious pain. You were having some serious health issues back then.
Yeah, I was sicker than a dog. Yeah, but I don't even really, it's hard for me to remember, what I felt like back then because of the adrenaline and the focus and, just the playoffs they took my mind off the way I was feeling every day because I was tired. I mean, I was definitely tired. I just didn't feel my best. But when, the games came around or when practice came around or film session, you put all that in the back seat and you tried to focus on the task at hand because it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, at least for me. And so I didn't have time to, kind of dwell on how I was feeling.
Do you remember, did you know what was wrong?
Yeah.
During all that time?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember whether...
Yeah, I knew. I went to the doctor in March, and at that time when I took a blood test, my creatinine was like 7.5. And the doctor at that time wanted to do a kidney biopsy. And I said, well, how long am I going to be out? And he said, 2 weeks. And I said, it was a shortened season. Yeah. Games were condensed, and I didn't have time to miss 2 weeks. So I said, well, let's do it after the season. And it turns out after the season, we didn't need one. We just did an ultrasound maybe 2 or 3 days after we won the championship. And they could tell then that what was going on, and I was being monitored like every week. So yeah, I knew exactly what was happening. I thought more likely that it was going to be my last season, that I would never play again after that. And
you were able to fight through it. And
I mean, funny things.
How did you keep it a secret? I mean, how did people not know, and who knew other than
me and the doctor and I? That was it. Even the team doctors were informed that, this to kind of monitor my blood pressure. So at halftime, I'd go in the training room and they'd do a quick blood pressure and they'd do it after the game. And just to see where I was and make sure I wasn't going to drop on the floor.
But how did you keep that a secret? That's amazing to me that nobody knew.
No, because at that point, you're a part of the team. If I say, "Hey guys, I'm sick and I'm not going to make it," or this could be my last turnaround, then it takes the focus off what we need to do. It takes the attention away from what we have to do, and then you're treated differently. And then maybe Avery doesn't yell at me. Maybe Tim doesn't give me that look like, if I didn't catch one of his passes that was spinning sideways. So, it's just one of those things. So, everything had to be normal.
So you kept it from them because you didn't want them affected, or the way
I didn't want me to be. I didn't want to be affected either. To be honest with you, both of us. It just wasn't the time for that. There was a time to tell everybody, announce, what I was going through, but that wasn't the time. All of us had enough on our plate to do what we did was mentally challenging enough. We had Tim and David and Avery and Mario and JJ and Malik and Steve Kerr and all these guys, and maybe we made it look easy because we lost only 2 games, but it was tough. It was mentally grueling, and we had to bring our best to the floor every single night, so we didn't need any other type of distraction.
Was there ever a time when you said, I can't finish this out?
No, always felt good. Yeah, I always felt good enough to do it, and I just wasn't going to pass up the opportunity.
Did anybody ever think there was something wrong? Did anybody ever come to you and say, Sean, you're all right?
When I told Steve after we beat Portland in the 4th game, we're on the plane, I told him, this is what I'm going through. He said, yeah, I thought, something, you look a little tired.
But typical you weren't going to.
No, but I wasn't going to.
Let anybody.
No.
20 years later, how do you feel?
I feel great. I can't complain. I'm still here.
And you've done a lot for bringing attention to transplants.
I've done a lot of that. I've talked to people about having transplants. I've talked to doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals, people on the phone. Sometimes I just have people I work with and say, hey, I know somebody's going through something. Can you talk to them for 5 minutes? I've done lots of that. When you're in a position where you can help people or have some influence, you got to take advantage of it. So, I'm more than happy to do it. And that's why I really wanted to come back and play, David. I just wanted to prove to people that, you don't have to let something debilitate you or define you. You can overcome anything if you really put your mind to it. You get a little bit of adversity in that, and that sometimes that's a blessing. It makes you tougher, makes you stronger. It gives you a goal or an obstacle to overcome.
What's it like to be able to inspire somebody, to influence somebody who may be going through that? You probably can't compare it to the championship, or can you?
No, it's hard. It's hard to kind of put that into words because it's, I never imagined as a kid that I would be in that kind of position or this kind of position to influence people, and influence a lot of people. That's it's overwhelming at times, but at other times it's a great feeling. It's a feeling of empowerment, and knowing that you have the abilities or the tools to really help people and really help people get better or encourage people to make it through a troubling time. That's overwhelmingly great.
That's a championship legacy right there.
Yeah.
Being able to, you're a champion, but being able to use that championship to help.
I totally agree. So I'm going to do it as long as I can, as long as I'm here.
That's a bigger year than most people could have.
That was huge. Yeah.
That's a huge year. You go from NBA champion to getting a kidney transplant.
Yeah, to getting a kidney transplant. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Most people, after they won the NBA championship, they were, your buddies are all on vacation. They're laying on the beach somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I missed all that. I missed all the partying and celebrating.
Can I ask you about your brother? How's he doing?
He's doing well. He's actually going to come in town for the 20th anniversary of my transplant, which is the middle of August. And so we're going to have something with Methodist, and we're going to have I'm not sure exactly what's planned, but we're going to have a little get together, probably with a bunch of transplant recipients and donors, and have a little bit of a celebration, and have a good time, and just kind of remind people that that you can continue to live a normal and productive life.
And he's doing good then.
He's doing great. He has 3 kids. My nephew, his oldest, is going to play basketball at a Christian school in LA, Biola, and he's big. He's 6'10" and can run and jump. So that's going to be fun to watch his development. And he's kind of a late bloomer, but he's already got a better body than a lot of NBA players. So that's great. And the 2 girls are athletic in volleyball and basketball. So my brother's doing okay. He's doing all right. I mean, everybody talks about the championship, but I think that's as important to remember you and what you went through after that championship as the championship itself, just because that was life. I mean, that was real. That was real. And, my brother, he hates needles. I mean, he was always the one, like, they'd come in with a little tiny needle. My brother would be like, oh, Lord. And they made him a pin cushion for a couple weeks, just testing him. And he went through a lot. And, he was the real hero.
Final question. When you look back now, is there anything that, with all this attention on all that stuff, is there anything that you forgot maybe over the years that you look back and go, oh man, I can't believe that happened? Is there a couple of things, or do you remember it all?
No, I don't know if there is, to be honest with you. I think I remember all of it, and I soaked it all in as much as I could.
And it's still nice to hear you when the people call you an NBA champion. Eh?
I know. That never gets old. Something that no one can ever take it away from you. We won it. We had the best team, and we should have done it years before. I thought we had the best team several times, but we finally proved it.
Phil Jackson tried to take it away from you.
He tried to diminish it a little bit. That's because we swept them in the second round.